Hey, we're on the new beach here beside Chorus headquarters, ExploreMusic headquarters, and we're with Felix and Harry from Cat Empire. Thanks so much for taking the time, guys. Really appreciate it.
It's okay, pleasure.
Cinema is your 5th record. Came out about a month ago.
Yep.
It's an aptly named record because it kind of feels like it's part of a movie soundtrack, the way it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, I sort of just took on that sound when we were rehearsing just before the recording, and the producer, Steve Schramm, sort of came in and sort of named it cinematic sounding, and I don't know how, it just sort of felt like that. The songs were quite moody and probably a bit darker and more minor than we've done in the past, and it just took on a bit of a feeling like that, and yeah, it became a record.
You recorded this record differently than the previous records in that you didn't have a ton of stuff going into studio, right? It all came out of jam sessions and working organically in the room. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How I mean, you're all masters of your craft, but how does the instrumentation come in? Is it just, you know, we'll fill in here with a Dex part, or we'll fill in here with some keys, or the electric organ, or trumpet solo goes here? Is that something that you all sort of think about collaboratively, or does one guy raise his hand and say, I know what I want to do there?
It's probably a mixture of both, I'd say. Like, I mean, like I guess the ideal of writing music on this record was that we would create something together, kind of, yeah, more as a unit rather than kind of critiquing and telling each other what to play. Right. But once, I guess, having said that, once we did create a sound, there's often going to be a lot of going back and looking at that before you hit the studio, you know, kind of like, I don't know, like a second draft, I guess,
right,
over what you've already done. Yeah, but it's always give and take. There's no absolute rules for how we create the music. It's just like whatever seems right at the time.
Did it seem right at the time? I know that you guys were really exhausted from the 5 years or 6 years leading up to making of this record, and almost didn't make the record, right? That it was just, is this new record give you a new sense of purpose to go out on the road and play these new tunes and some of the old tunes? Is that kind of rejuvenated what you're doing, what the Cat Empire is all about?
Yeah, I think the first sort of goal we set, it was one of the only goals we set, was that we wanted to make material that we'd be happy playing live. For a band like this, that's quite an interesting start to writing, because I mean, we've seen a lot of very diverse stages. We've been to heaps of different places, and for me, when I started writing ideas down for this album, I was imagining playing on an outdoor festival stage. It's nice to have been on enough of those to actually, you know, feel that atmosphere in your head as you start writing, and it's nice because I suppose we're in Canada in summer and playing a lot of festivals.
Right.
And yeah, I suppose that was a starting point for all of us, that we wanted to make material that we could play live.
You'd be familiar with Fela Kuti, yeah? Of course. Yeah. You know, there was this thing about Fela Kuti where, like, he'd write a song and then he'd tour it, or not even tour it, he'd just play it live for years maybe, kind of refining it and developing it, and then when he decided that the song was ready, he'd record it, right, and then he'd never play it again. Right. You know, it's kind of like the opposite of the way the whole music business works.
Right.
In a way, I wish we could do things like that, because having new songs is not just having kind of new fodder, you know, to play. It's also having like new babies that are going to grow, right, as we tour, you know, and develop and change, and that's very exciting too.
And especially for music that you guys make, you're limited on a record to 4 or 5 minutes, where in a live setting, I know you guys like to jam out songs and try things live, so I would imagine the live experience is that much more fulfilling for you, as opposed to just putting stuff down on a record.
Well, it brings back that kind of blank canvas element. You know, one of the challenges for the band is kind of maintaining that whole side of being spontaneous and having an improvisation element to the music, and also just touring constantly, you know, like you don't want the improvisation to just be like a gimmick, or like the novelty of we've got to do something we've never done before. You want it to be a musical idea that's being improvised, and so having new songs is really helpful for that.
Let's talk about touring for a minute, because it's not that you guys just tour your territory like a Canadian band would tour across Canada and maybe do some states gigs, but you guys tour globally, It's not just like, you know, going from Sydney to Melbourne and some little spots in Australia. When you guys tour, you're really touring all the time, right? And all over the place.
We have toured in all sorts of places. That's true. I think one of the most sort of surprising aspects of this band for me has always been that I've never known, firstly, how to define what it does, and secondly, what kind of an audience we have. And I mean, we found ourselves in, you know, like at the top of rock festivals or in small jazz clubs, or, you know, we played a lot of time at sort of fringe festivals when we started out, playing late night slots with comedians. I mean, all sorts of. The experience of the band has always been so diverse, and you know, I have a lot of faith in the musicians I play with and what chemistry we have for something to happen. But I suppose it's always been such a surprising band in terms of how diverse it actually is, and in a sort of in the context of places where we go, it seems like there isn't necessarily a territory that's the best for us. We can go to a country where no one speaks a language and do quite well there, and we can go to, you know, to a big festival in the middle of, you know, a western country and play there too. So it seems to work out pretty well for us like that.
And that's why something like a global gig, which was your online launch of the new record, works out, right? 56 different countries participated. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. I was great looking at that list. I remember having to do the announcements for it, and I got the list of all the countries, and there was a lot of countries. And the other thing that happens with us is, like, we go to, you know, a lot of travellers like the music. It seems to be, especially when we released our first album, it seems that the word of mouth happened by people who had burnt the disc and like put it in their backpack and passed it on to places. So often we go to an area and meet someone from a country that we've never had any radio or any concerts at, and there's kind of a nucleus of followers there who've played our music at the parties. It's kind of cool. It
probably speaks to coming of age as a band at the same time that the internet and social media has really taken shape, right? You guys are, well, I followed the making of this record on Twitter. You guys would post, well, we just completed another song, or we're so excited about. Who is the Twitterer? Is that you, Harry, or is it somebody?
That's our bass player, Ryan.
Right.
He's the only really computer literate person in the whole band. He's basically brought us into the new generation. You know, I wouldn't have a clue, mate. I wouldn't have a clue how to do that stuff. But Ryan's really good at it.
And it's a great tool for you guys because you are this band that's hard to describe, hard to define. It allows your listeners and your audience to check you out online, whether it's following you on Twitter or you're very active on Facebook and all the other things that you're doing, except when somebody leaks a record and then we hate the internet, right?
Well, then we love the internet.
Well, what happened with eBay and how did that all happen? For those of you who don't know, their record was leaked and somebody put it up on eBay for sale, and I guess a fan bought it and then leaked it, right? Is that...
No, the leak was simply the fact that it was up for sale. Like, look, I'm sure that fan who bought it shared it around with a few people, but yeah, no, whatever, man. Like, I think the publicity that we've gotten from having the story of the leak has led many people to suspect that we're the ones that leaked it in the first place. You know, like, who knows whether that was good or bad for us. It was very flattering that someone paid, like, I think they paid $200 for it, which isn't that much compared to some of the famous leaked records in history, but, you know, it's still flattering that someone needed to hear our music a week before everyone else.
Let's talk about some of the tracks on the record, if you don't mind. All Hell and Feelings Gone are both these slower, to your point earlier, slower mid-tempo numbers that have that more jazzy feel, I think, that more rootsy feel to them. Can you talk a bit about those two tracks?
Sure. Well, I'll talk about All Hell. That was quite a unique song on the album. Firstly, because I was playing piano, which is quite controversial at first. But that song was sort of one I had floating around, and it's quite percussive and sort of quite vast. I mean, it sounds a bit like an overture or something like that. Right. Opera in my mind. It's sort of like this sort of big bombastic sound, and it was a lot of fun putting it together. And I suppose it marked a point where we really could go and do some more exploratory kind of sonic things. And that was a song that kind of goes quite out. It sounds big, and I remember I wrote the piano part based on this Rachmaninoff song. It's a prelude that I spent sort of half a year learning. Wow. It's very slowly. I'm very slow at reading music, and and it was great, but I had these huge big minor chords, you know, these 8-note minor chords, and I'd learned how to play that, and then I sort of was just messing around at the piano and came up with that riff. And I never thought that the Cat Empire would do it, but in the end it actually suited this album really well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it comes in after Only Light, which is another very cinematic, quite dramatic song, and it sort of gives, I think it's one of the first times we've ever had a chance where the album goes deeper, kind of, where you can kind of go into another place, I suppose, hence cinema.
Fuck off, car.
It's rain or something. Feeling's Gone is the other one that to my ear sounded a little mellower, though it has those big percussion points, I guess, and also a very different sound for you guys, I think.
That was that song was kind of like truly written by everyone, you know, including the producer of the record. And it was kind of like made out of recycled bits of other songs, and completely reinvented at the last minute. And yeah, like there was definitely no plan to that song. It just turned out the way it did, you know. It's just a melody and some words, and what was it? Verses that sound like Leonard Cohen, and choruses that sound like Van Halen with brass, you know, so like a real bastard child.
Reasonably Fine's my favorite track on the record.
Yeah.
Just because it's just a great song, and I think, you know, guys just hanging out can really relate to what's written in that tune. That's you, right?
Guys just hanging out.
Yeah.
Well, like us.
Like us, yeah.
Yeah, that was a sort of probably the most personal song I wrote on the album. That was one that we didn't have to rework at all, really. It's pretty much live. You know, what you hear on the album is what we performed, and we ended up using the rough mix. So what happened in that sort of half an hour period when we were, you know, doing takes is pretty much what happened on the album. And the song, I enjoy that song. It's a really nice point in the set, and it's also nice in the context of all of the sort of chaos in the Cat Empire between one song and the next, and between two singers, and between our live show, which you know goes to quite a few different sort of energy points, I suppose. Feeling Reasonably Fine's a song that, for me, I can sort of just relax and clear my head and sing it, and it's kind of half sad but a bit optimistic, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
Fans can expect that all of these songs really come alive in the live setting. I mean, that's what you guys are known for, right? Is the live setting and playing your instruments and just being really bombastic on stage.
Yeah.
That's the plan. That's what we aim to please, you know.
So you're continuing to tour Canada, and then I know you have some dates in the States, and it's just continuing to tour this record and doing what you do on the road. Is that the plan for the foreseeable future?
We've got a big touring year this year. Yeah, we've got well, we decided to release this album properly, and so we've had Canada and a few shows in the States, and we go back to do a couple of months in Australia, then Europe in October, then Japan in November, and back for summer festivals in Australia, I think, in December. So
Japan should be exciting for you guys. Have you guys been to Japan yet?
We've been there once. Yeah. I think everyone really looks forward to doing Japan. It's such a different playing, sort of performing environment.
Japan's like the mecca for rock bands, you know. It's like the promised land where everyone gets fed, and you know, there's like people to sort out everything you need, and people meet you at the airport. That's the legend of Japan, you know. And it's actually, that was our experience of Japan, like just way more people dedicated to being hospitable to musicians than in other places. Not that other places are inhospitable.
Well, thanks so much. As a Commonwealth brother, I'm always excited to hear new things about Cat Empire, and so happy that we were able to catch up this tour around. So thanks a lot, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Yeah.